As Shayon said, our next event is the discussion, how literary are the literature festivals. Before we go into it, I would rather like to say something about my role in this discussion. আমি প্রথমে বাংলায় বলছি, আমরা ছোটবেলায় স্কুলে এসে লিখতাম বিজ্ঞানের সুফল ও কুফল, একটা মাঝখানে লাইন টেনে ভাগ ভাগ করে। What are the pitfalls of being a publisher of a little magazine? Little magazine publisher হওয়ার সুফল ও কুফল সেটা হচ্ছে you should be ready to fit into any role that you are assigned. I was not supposed to be the moderator of this discussion. Chandrabhanu Patnaik ji was supposed to do that, but unfortunately he couldn't make it to Kolkata. Then I thought that hopefully Ashwini ji would be here, because Prabal was telling me if they are not here, so you will have to do it. You know, that is like I am gulping my spit inside. I am trying to drink water and I am really nervous from the morning. So please excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I am now fitting into the role of a moderator for the discussion, how literary are the literature festivals. So may I now invite our esteemed panelists, Sri Arun Kamal ji, please come for the discussion, H.A. Shiva Prakash ji, Hemant Divate, Jivan Nara, and Yatish Kumar ji. So please take your seats. Let's see, and all of you please pray for me how best I can bring out something extra. I will tell you that. So in the first round we will let the speakers speak for 5 minutes. Then in the second round we will ask them another 2 minutes. So if they can add something, or if there is anything from the audience, you can also question them. So now from my role as a MC, now I'm becoming a moderator, so I'll take my seat next to Shiva Prakash ji. Thank you very much. I guess I will not have to introduce once again our esteemed panelists. We have Arun Kamal ji, who's an esteemed Indian poet writing in the Hindi language. We have Hemant Divate ji, who is an Indian poet writing in Marathi. We have H.A. Shiva Prakash ji, who is an esteemed Indian poet writing in Kannada. And we have Yatish Kumar ji, who is an Indian poet writing in Hindi. So what is our topic about? How literary are the literature festivals? Why did we even think of this topic? Now, we have in the recent years seen that a literature festival is mushrooming throughout our country at least. In different cities, and in many cities there are more than one literature festival. And we see, like if we take the instance of Jaipur Literature Festival, we see there is a lot of interest and people are flocking to the venues which are put up in the literature festival. There are hordes of visitors, there's a lot of enthusiasm, the media coverage is fabulous. So what is happening there? We would like to know, what are we getting out of these literature festivals? What is it? So that is our main question. We're not going to take any moral high stand, whether that's good, bad, ugly, nothing. We just want to know maybe the impact, the sociological, the psychological, and also the economic or commerce behind all this. So I would first request Yatish Kumar ji to start the discussion. I will tell you why I am asking Yatish Kumar ji, because very recently I attended a very well planned uh, literature festival in Calcutta, which was organized by Nilambar. Yatish Kumarji is the president of that organization, so I would like him to come out with facts and figures and something more than that we know. Yatish Kumarji, please.
First of all, thank you very much. And sitting here besides Legions itself is giving me shivering feeling. So I'll stick to the topic. I can see recently, particularly since 2011-12, I can see a lot of changes in the literature cycle. Like a lot of people are coming back to the basic, they are searching soul, they are coming out again and reading, they have started reading books. So the festival is nothing but collective effort for reaching a soul with same purpose. The purpose is samvad, the communication. If communication is happening, then the literature festival is worth. What has been told about here about the literature festival, that recently there has been a phenomena that a mushrooming of festivals is happening. So in my view, it's for good, because ultimately the purpose is to get to have this such a get together, exchange of ideas. People come to know more about poetry, more about books, more about human itself institution. So even these days the festival has gone inside village. Like recently the Gorakhpur festival, it has happened in the tent, literally tent. So ultimately people are reaching out more towards book, poetry and culture. So I am for it. For the purpose, things are taking shape, and in my view, at this moment, it is under transformation for betterment. Thank you.
You have some more time. You can speak some more. You have some more time. So, Yatish ji thinks that it's a medium for communication. The festival, wherever it is held, however it is held, it has created interest in the readers. They're reading more books. They're coming to know about more poetry. But I would go now to Hemant ji and ask him that what kind of, to give him a start, I would ask him what kind of books are being sold. He being the publisher of poetry books, a famous poetry wala. So I would give him the starting point that what does he think about it? What kind of books are being sold, or what kind of readers does he encounter as being a publisher?
Yatish has spoken for the festivals. I should speak about against the festivals, because the discussion should have, like coin, two sides. I don't like the idea of having one side, both the sides same. And that's why I didn't like the movie called Sholay. Anyways, I am going to speak maybe for longer time or maybe less, I don't know. It's about the mood swings, my mood swings. So I have been to, you may not be knowing, but I have been to many countries in Asia, Europe and Latin America, to the major poetry festival like the Nicaragua Granada Poetry Festival, where they invite at least 400 poets from all the countries in the world. And I have also been to JLF, Jaipur Literature Festival, in 2018. I was also invited there as a poet and also as a publisher for their publishing event. And I have actually, we had a festival in Poetry Wala International Festival in Mumbai before 10 years. And then before 5 years, we had Mumbai Poetry Festival. So I actually look at all these festivals. So most of the festivals, so I will make one statement that which is like there is poetry written in all over the world in all the languages. I am I am publisher and poet also of poetry, and I believe that there is no romantic feeling about poetry. I feel that there is a bad poetry in abundance and there is a good poetry. I always believe that everybody actually crosses, one or the other hurdles. And we all try. I mean, even I am trying to write a good poetry. Whether I have succeeded or no, somebody else will decide or maybe the time will decide. But one is, bad poetry is the greatest enemy of good poetry. So when a festival, say, organize a festival of bad poets, bad writers, bad speakers, then that festival, though it is very, very big, I mean, Jaipur Literature Festival for that instance, I went there and I spoke with people also. I saw that most of the people were all there to see how Twinkle Khanna looks in person. And there were at least 10,000 people for Twinkle Khanna's rubbish book, which is not literature, which is bad literature, which is actually takes main stage. And for the poetry reading and the award, Surjit Patar, a Punjabi poet, was given award. This Kannaiya Lal, right, Sethia award. So for that event, there were hardly 200 people, including the poets who are going to read with Surjit Patar, including me and others. Only 200 people were there. But what I gained from the whole JLF is only that event. And wherever I actually went, they had invited, I think, 1,000 people. I am not I'm not trying to say that I am a great poet or something. But I am doing something for the last 30 years, doing something for poetry without asking for any return. And I have to stand in a queue for eating food. And I saw a very, very nationalist, but very anti-national actually, person who comes regularly on the television, getting the VIP treatment and being escorted by many people. I feel that way, that I have done so much work for poetry, or you have done, or all of us have done so much work for poetry for the last maybe 30, 40, 50 years. But we are what? They consider us dirt. You have to stand in a queue, and a shady, the person who is actually against the nation is escorted like a VIP. So I want to say that the reflection of the society, the shallowness of society is actually is in the festivals of huge, larger, where they actually invite lot of people, lot of so-called authors. Our very important and uh, literary writer G.A. Kulkarni, who wrote very, very good short stories. He has said that in literature, though I don't exactly buy the point, but in literature, poets are the only artist. All the others are workers, novelists, non-fiction writers and all. But we have actually gone beyond that now. We have gone beyond poets, we have gone beyond writers, we have gone beyond, say, we don't call historian a literary genius, but that is also okay. Now, TV presenters, people writing memoirs of their corrupt life, and many political memoirs, and those who are actually making our country very, very, what, unproud. I don't know the right word. They are given importance. I have decided that I will not go to these filthy big literary festivals who are supported by the crony capitalist, though I am not a communist also. I am a humanist. I don't belong to any political party, no group, nothing. I belong to a common person, common people. I have decided that I will not go now to JLF and those, that kind of festivals. I'll go with my own money to a festival organized by H.S. Shiva Prakash, or maybe Mrutyunjay, or Yapanchitra, and I will express my views with the intimate audience like you, where I can actually say something and at least you people are listening. I don't want to go to JLF and stay in five-star hotel with everything closed, and where you have to stand in a queue, you have to be like what? You have to be like not even a human being, because they consider everybody as an audience. Even if we actually keep, say, यंत्र मानव, क्या बोलते हैं यंत्र मानव, यंत्र मानव, जो thousands of यंत्र मानव है, they just want eyeballs. They don't want intelligent people. They just want crowd. And they are all actually trying to make impression that they are making huge difference to society. Robo. If there are, maybe after some years, you will find that robots, 20 lakh robots are sitting and watching some nonsense author. I am not interested in that. I am interested in five people listening to my poetry and coming and telling me, you read poetry, one was very good, one was very bad. No problem. That is what the festival should be. It is to meet people. It is to actually share your meal. हम हमारा खाना एक दूसरे के साथ बैठ के खाते हैं, पीते हैं, कविता सुनते हैं, नहीं समझ में आया तो हम उसको बोलते हैं एक ट्रांसलेशन दे दो, चलेगा. We are trying to understand other human beings. And that is about the festival. The smaller festival who don't get any sponsors are the real festivals. And all these festivals, I was part of corporate company. I have gone through all that. I don't use that talent of mine to get any corporate sponsor. But I tell you that when we did festival, even Shiva was there, we sold, in one day we sold poetry books worth 86,000 rupees. And for me, 86,000 rupees, you will say, क्या है उसमें? लेकिन for selling poetry translated from languages into English and in English original, it's a huge thing. And JLF or other festivals, they don't sell this kind of books. They sell ordinary authors like Chetan Bhagat and so many others. So thank you very much. I have taken a lot of time, but I wanted to make this point very clear that the festivals like Yapanchitra makes difference to society and to all the lives, not the big sponsored events which are all about media and money, nothing else. You are just a viewer of that event. You have no contribution. Don't spend your money to travel there. And it is not even jatra. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hemant, for your candid and deep, insightful analysis of the large festivals. Of course, all of us, we know that in such festivals, slots are sold, and we often see a lyricist interviewing a film star, which attracts hundreds of crowds. But as Hemant was saying, I would like to draw a distinction here from whatever he has said. He talked about small festivals. So I would like to ask now Shiva Prakash ji that small festivals means what he meant, poetry festivals or the big ones which they call literature festivals. What is the difference? And how can poetry festivals attract more people, as Yatish ji was saying, that it is a place and scope for communication. So what is the way forward?
I would agree with most of what Hemant said. I'd like to put it slightly differently. The first speaker said festivals are encouraging the dissemination of literature. I beg to disagree because it's true that you have to decide whether poets need crowds or audiences. These big festivals are drawing only crowds. For example, JLP has become a tourist attraction. School children are brought there for picnic. They hang around, eat all this pizza, and so on. So it's become a tourist attraction. This is how a literary festival should not be, because it's attracting crowds, not listeners. If you look at the evolution of poetry in India, In ancient Tamil land, there was Sangam poetry. There were a group of, perceptive listeners and poets who got together. And in my language, in Kannada, a great literary, efflorescence happened in 12th century, Vachana poetry, which these poems were also composed in the context of a collective kind of dialogue. Our great poet Akamadevi says, Sangadindallade bija agni huttado, Sangadindallade bija, Sangad sarva sukhadavarazo. Unless the coming together of people, no seed will sprout and no happiness is born. And in North India, satsangs of Nirguni poets, not all over India, that became the breeding ground of good poetry. Now, the JLP model, which has now become the bane of Indian culture, not only literature, is spreading not like mushrooms, like cancer. In Bangalore, we have a literary festival, exact carbon copy of Jaipur Literary Festival. In small places, in Guwahati also, there's some festival going on, in Assam, in different places, exact replica of JLP. So, in our poetic tradition, they didn't speak of the crowd, they didn't speak of the reader, they spoke of a sahridaya. Sahridaya is a sensitive and responsive reader. That's what writers need, that's what poets need. So these, you said it's community, it's no, not community, it's commerce that is happening. The model of big lit fest is the model of globalization. I've seen that happen in Frankfurt Literary Festival, where there was basically a business event. Leipzig Business Festival in Germany. And I've also seen very meaningful small festivals in different parts of the world. For example, I've been to small countries in Latin America. I went to El Salvador, which is a very backward country, but the festivals are so meaningful. They take poets to schools and to jails so that we can communicate with all sections of people to disseminate the poetry culture. That kind of thing is not happening in India. But still, thankfully, there are some small festivals happening. And distinction is not between small or big festival. Distinction is whether the festival is meant for sensitive lovers of poetry or for the crowds who come there to watch Rani Mukherjee or Deepika Padukone and so on and so forth. That's another kind of event. And as Hemant said, we all sensitive writers should refuse to go to JLP kind of bashas, because it's an insult to poets, it's an insult to writers. For example, recently I organized in a small place called Ballari a big international poetry festival. I should have dropped that word festival. I call it confluence of poetry. And we invited poets from some 22 countries. 5 of them could not make it, but they didn't know that they needed visa to come to India. They couldn't come. Some people fell sick. 18 people came with their own money, each spending nearly 2 lakhs on the tickets on their own. We just gave the local hospitality. And there were 30 poets from India, 30 local poets. It was a very big festival, but it was not like Jaipur Literary Festival. But this I can't organize again because these people expected money from the government. They didn't get it. Sahitya Academy didn't give them any money. Another frightening thing about these big festivals, the Jaipur, even Sahitya Academy festival is not so commercialized. Why should we have parallelly some 5 sessions going on? Why should we bring in that just to show the figures? The emphasis is on quantity, not quality. So I think when it comes to literary festival, the small is beautiful and the big is disgusting and ugly.
Thank you, Shiva Prakashji, for your deep analysis of what is going on at the big festivals vis-a-vis the smaller ones. But I would like to mention here that since all of you are poets, So you are talking about poetry festivals only. I would want to know what about a festival where, it's just not poetry, there are novels, there are short story sessions, there are sessions on non-fiction. What about that? How to go about organizing a festival in a manner in which not just poetry but other forms of literature are also included? And I would also like to know from Arun Kamalji, because he was a professor of literature. So what should be the definition of literary or literature to a common person? Or maybe can you tell us about more than a definition, what a common man would expect when he or she visits a literature festival, what he or she should be expecting, and what that person gets in big festivals or in small festivals?
You have asked the most difficult question of me. What is literary and what is literature? Actually, all these festivals are using the term literature in a non-literary way. If you meet a medical representative, there is some echo somewhere. Give me some other. A medical representative goes to a doctor and presents his, it is this mic. Goes to a doctor, offers his samples, and also says, "Sir, this is our literature." All the commercial people use literature in this sense. All these festivals are using the term literature in this very sense. That is non-literary, something, whatever is written is literature for them. Whatever is spoken is literature for them. And we have a strong objection to this. The second thing is, there is nothing festive about literature. Literature is a criticism of life. Literature disturbs you. Whether it's a novel or a poem, it disturbs you. There is nothing festive about it. But they're using, and they are deliberately using the term festival everywhere. I remember when I was a schoolboy, we haven't heard of this Utsav or literature in association with conferences, literary conferences or seminars. There were Kavi Sammelans, and they were huge Kavi Sammelans, attracting huge crowd. And when I was a student of class 9, I had the luck, the fortune of listening to Bhikhari Thakur, the legendary Bhojpuri poet. He was 90 plus at the time. And it was a big, huge gathering in a small place. Then we have Progressive Writers Association conferences. They were 2 or 3 day long conferences, including poetry reading sessions and seminars. They never called it festival. It was Adhiveshan, Sammelan, conference. Then we have Madhya Pradesh Kala Parishad and Bharat Bhavan programs. They also didn't call it festival. It was just a week-long program of art and literature. Nothing else was discussed. No politics either. They were government organizations, they wouldn't. But PWA did discuss politics also. Then we have this Sahitya Academy Festival of Letters. They were the first to use the term festival, and they called it Festival of Letters. It is very interesting. The very name of our National Academy, that is Sahitya Academy, is National Academy of Letters. It includes everything that is written, of course, serious writing. And earlier, the awards were given for works in philosophy, in history. For example, in Hindi, it was given to Acharya Narendra Dev for Mahatma Buddha Charit, Rahul Sankrityan for the history of Central Asia, like that. But later, they changed it, and it became exclusively a platform for creative literature. So still they call their program Festival of Letters. This kind of thing, this Festival of Literature, is a new thing. Just as in a society, if religious spirit is on the wane, or the religious spirit gets corrupted, so we have more of religious jamboree and religious violence in the name of religion. So in a society where poets have no place, where poetry books are sold in hundreds of copies, where it's very difficult to publish a book of poetry, where even novels are not purchased and read, it is surprising that we have festivals in various small places like Gorakhpur. Patna still is safe that way. We don't have any festivals in Patna. Patna has registered, and I think it should register. We have conferences, conclaves, but never festivals. It's surprising. The basic thing is, and this is what I feel, and this is my last point in the first part, it is the commercialization of everything that is written. It is commercialization of literature. And also, this system, capitalism, for capitalism, nothing is sacred. Not even music, not even poetry. Always capitalism corrupts it, degrades it. And for capitalism, it's money that counts. Deepika Paduk, I shouldn't name someone. If anything that sells is God or goddess. Literature does not sell well. But non-fiction can sell, and it is selling much better than fiction, everywhere, throughout the world. Poetry, the poor poetry, the pauper poetry, it has no takers. So in every festival, poetry always takes the back seat. Or it may even have to take a place where the shoes are taken off and placed. This is what festivals mean for poetry and literature. Thank you.
Would you like to add, Hemant? Yes, Yatish ji wanting to add
शुरुआत में
something.
मैंने शायद इसलिए अपने शब्द कम रखे
If you want, you can speak in
या
Hindi as well.
एक्चुअली मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि जो भी लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल है वो तीन तरह के नॉर्मली हैं. एक है जो सरकारी, जैसे सर ने कहा साहित्य अकादमी एक एग्जाम्पल है, तो उसका पर्पस कुछ और होता है, उसके बैकग्राउंड में गवर्नमेंट के अपने एजेंडा होते हैं. उसके साथ साथ ही हम आते हैं वैसे प्रोग्राम से, JLF हो गया, KLF हो गया, जिसमें जो ऑर्गेनाइजर्स होते हैं वो आउटसोर्स होते हैं, उनको पता ही नहीं होता कि साहित्य क्या है. सो probably we are talking about only segmental लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल वेयर थिंग्स आर आउटसोर्स्ड. वो बुलाते हैं तो अरुण कमल कौन है उनको पता ही नहीं होता है, और वो अरुण जी आप बैठिए और इंट्रोडक्शन भी आपको नहीं मिलता है. लेकिन लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल बहुत सीरियस लोग हैं, जैसे कि यहाँ हम बैठे हुए हैं, जिसमें जो प्रस्तुतकर्ता हैं, जो जो संगठन के लोग हैं, जब वो लिटरेचर बैकग्राउंड से रहते हैं, जब वो शोध करते हैं, जब वो आपको 2 महीने पहले संवाद किस चीज़ पे हो, सेमिनार किस चीज़ पे है, सब्जेक्ट आपको भेज देते हैं, तो उसके मायने बदल जाते हैं और ये सही पर्पस का लिटरेचर सामने आता है। मैं एग्जग्रेट नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि नीलांबर ने कुछ ऐसा काम किया होगा, लेकिन मैं इस गर्व के साथ इस बात को रखना चाहता हूँ कि वो 500 लोग सर जिस के बारे में बात कर रहे थे, 500 लोग सर इस कलकत्ता में आते हैं, दिन भर रहते हैं, 3 दिन रहते हैं, और हम में से बहुत सारे लोग जो कवि या लेखक हमारे संस्थान में आते हैं, उसमें से कई लोग पैसा नहीं भी लेते हैं हमसे। हमारे किसी बोर्ड पे कभी भी किसी कंपनी का नाम नहीं होता और आम जन के पैसे से नीलांबर चल रहा है और बहुत ही सीरियस बातें होती। मैं एक एग्जाम्पल के तौर पर उसको यूज कर रहा हूँ। तो ऐसे लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल हो रहे हैं, महाराष्ट्र में भी हैं, नीलांबर का ही रूप कोई होगा, गोरखपुर में भी है, बट जनरलाइज करके लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल को मुझे लगता है कि नहीं दीवार से किवाड़ से बाहर कर देना चाहिए। हमें इसको वर्गीकरण करके इस तरह से बोलना चाहिए, ये मेरा व्यक्तिगत राय है कि अगर ऑर्गेनाइजर खुद इन्वॉल्व रहता है जिस लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल में, उस लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल के मायने होते हैं और उसमें हेमंत दा ने जिस गलतियों की बात कही वैसी गलतियां नहीं होती हैं। शुक्रिया।
Thank you, Jyotishi. I would like to take a little further ahead and ask our panelists about the role of the media. Now, while we were talking about the role of money and capitalist and everything is there for sale, and for selling we need footfall. And for footfall, we need people like, film stars and politicians and sportsperson, etc., where literature is lost. And of course, there is no place for poetry, as we all know. Poetry is the poorest cousin in that basket. So I would like to ask our panelists about how media plays it up for the common man. He or she thinks it's very glamorous to be seen at the literary festivals in the age of selfies and groupies and all that. And so that comes on social media and that is influencing the younger people and what's happening. Like, how can we, what is happening exactly and how can we stop this violence, as Arun Kamalji said, it's just like religious violence, though very harsh words, it's literary violence. So how can we, what is the way forward? We're looking at something, can we stop that? Actually, Jatish ji has given a very positive and hopeful idea that when people who are involved in literature, who are themselves poets or novelists, they organize a festival that makes some, that adds some value. So I would like to ask, yes, surely, sir.
Although I don't know much about media, but I would like to say a few words about what Yatish ji had just said. I don't like the word festival. There is nothing festive about literature. Krishna Sopti, you might have heard her name. Many of you might have heard her novels. She has been a great novelist. She recounts that when Shivaji is schoolgirl in Shimla, and it must have been in 1920s, there was a sammelan held by Hindi Sahitya Sammelan, Prayag. And there was a procession of writers. And it was being led by the great Hindi poet Nirala. And others also were there on the mall, on the Shimla Mall. Can we ever think of a procession of writers and poets being taken out? Is it possible today? And people come to watch them and spot them. This is Prabal. This is Shiva Prakash. So this is what disturbs us. Some well-meaning people may somehow arrange money and hold a 3-day, what they call festival. But that's not important. What they are aiming at, what is the subject they are discussing? If they shun politics, all right, but you cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid the question of money and media. So here media, the role of media is important. Media itself is holding many festivals. Aaj Tak, Sahitya Aaj Tak is one of them. And it's a jamboree, it's a huge fair-like thing. And again, the focus is on the people who don't matter for literature. The people who can fetch money for the media. Media also needs money, and it's controlled by Mughals. All the mainstream media today is being controlled by tycoons. The richest people of this land are controlling the media. And this again is dangerous. Literature has to struggle, has to survive against heavy odds. All the system, the entire system is ranged against genuine literature and genuine poetry. So you are holding good programs, that's all right. Don't call them festival. Why call them festival? अधिवेशन क्यों नहीं हो सकता है भाई? सम्मेलन कहने में डरते क्यों? लिहाज क्या है? किस बात का शर्म है? इतना अच्छा शब्द है सम्मेलन, इससे अच्छा शब्द क्या होगा? रविंद्रनाथ ने तो कभी उत्सव नहीं कहा. पौष उत्सव होता था, पौष मेला. कितना सुंदर शब्द है मेला. मेला क्यों नहीं कहते हैं आप? मेला से बढ़िया शब्द मुझको नहीं लगता कि उत्तर भारत में कोई दूसरा है. और कितना प्यारा शब्द है ये. मेला कहते ही मुझको तो सबसे पहले वो मिठाइयों की याद आती है. जलेबी, वो भी गुड़ की जलेबी. मिथिला हो तो भांग की जलेबी. तो आप जलेबियां भी खिलाइए, लेकिन मेला कहिए. मुझको आप कोई इतराज नहीं, लेकिन फेस्टिवल मत कहिए. तो मीडिया के बारे में ज़्यादा बतलाएंगे हेमंत जी. एंड यू मस्ट बी नोइंग दैट हेमंत has been himself a media Mughal.
Yes, I'm going to ask him.
Although he has abdicated the throne, but he has been. So over to Hemant.
Just before, thank you, Arun Kamalji. Before Hemant speaks, I just like to give you a cue that Arun Kamalji was talking about politics and media, and you had talked about rowboats. You know, the mass that attends these festivals are actually rowboats. So do we see a conspiracy in this, that, you know, political leaders using the media to convert people into rowboats so that they do not go deep into literature and, you know, see what's there and not be attracted towards the virtual? So being a media person once, I would want to also know this.
कहानी की शुरुआत कहाँ से की जाए. और आई एम ए वेरी एंग्री यंग मैन एक्चुअली. मेरा खून खौलता है, जो बोलते हैं ना, भरा खून खौलता है. इसलिए मैं मीडिया के बारे में बोलूँगा नहीं. आई वॉज पार्ट ऑफ मीडिया फॉर 32 years एंड वो नीड, वांट, डिज़ायर एंड सेल्फ एक्चुअलाइजेशन, ये सब चिड़िया और सीढ़ियाँ काट के मुझे एक समझ में आया है कि ये सब 4 दिन के लिए अगर बंद होगा, हमारा ध्यान अच्छी जगह से बुरी जगह जो ध्यान दिया जाता है, वो अगर 4 दिन के लिए अगर बंद हो जाएगा तो हम सब बहुत खुशी महसूस करेंगे. एक दिन मुझे याद है, मैं आई यूज्ड टू लिसन टू रेडियो मैच, क्रिकेट मैच ऑन रेडियो, सॉरी. सो एक दिन अचानक से ये है डाबर च्यवनप्राश सिक्सर, ऐसी ऐड हो गई आई। तब से मैंने अच्छे प्यारे रेडियो के ऊपर से कमेंट्री सुनना बंद कर दिया। और अभी उसके बारे में मैं कुछ आगे भी बोल नहीं रहा हूँ मीडिया के बारे में। मीडिया हैज छोटे इसमें मीडिया हैज गॉन टू डॉग्स एंड हमको हम सब लोग को मीडिया है या जो भी है उल्लू बनाया जा रहा है एक्चुअली। सो उसके बारे में ज्यादा अगर बोलूंगा तो मेरा बहुत ये हो जाएगा। और मेरी अच्छे पोएट लोगों के साथ मुलाकात होने का मैं जो अभी होने वाला है दैट ग्रैंड इवनिंग, आई लुक फॉरवर्ड टू मीट पोएट्स and enjoy company. I don't want to actually utter a single word about media which I was part of and which I was like, कहाँ से मेरे को दूसरी नौकरी नहीं मिली। सेल्समैन, मार्केटिंग मैन, यही नौकरी मिलनी थी, वो भी फिजिक्स करने के बाद। तो मेरे इतना दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण आयुष्य
No, I don't want you to remember that.
नहीं करना चाहता हूँ। So thank you very much. Maybe some other day.
Yes, surely.
If it is
Thank
a
you
fresh
very-
morning.
Yes, fresh morning. You don't want to spoil the fresh
And
morning
secondly,
either.
I am not articulate like these professors and learned people. I am a common soul.
No, what we, from the speakers today, what we understood is that, there is still hope. And finally, sorry? Oh, okay, sure. Ask. Ask whom?
Actually, Arun Kamalji said there is no festivity in literature. I beg to differ. Festival or utsav. Actually, I think what you are discussing, that is not underlying in the term, but what is going on under this term in JLF or other. Not the question. I want to differ, beg to differ with Arun Kamalji. Actually, festival or utsav, we have our great poet Rabindranath Tagore. He always organized different kind of festivals in utsav. Utsav. So he organized lot of festivals, lot of utsav in on different occasions. And when we read kids' poems, we find that there is also a celebration on sorrows. So I think everywhere there is celebration. What you established to, what you tried to establish that what is going on under this term festival, that is bad. But I think not the term is bad. If the term festival or utsav is organized thoughtfully and cordially with our good gestures and good feelings, then the festival or the term utsav will be very praiseworthy.
Yeah, thank you. And I would ask please say whatever is in your mind also. Since we are running now short of time, I'll ask Shivaprakash to also add what is the way forward.
Arun Kamalji made a very important point. We have to revisit the word festival. We may have to find some alternative term. But more than changing the word, we should change the content. And I'm very happy to learn, pleased to learn that Tagore used this word, utsav. And when we read our ancient and medieval literature, all kinds of festivals like Vasantotsav, etc., used to be organized in those days, where poetry and theater and music would happen. The word doesn't matter, but the thing is, now, like all meaningful words, the word festival has also been hijacked by globalized economy and post-capitalist, ethos. For example, when we were students, when we used the word progressive, it meant egalitarianism and social justice, etc. Now, progressive means more and more market economy. So, this is something some sociologists have called this formal identity and content reversal that has happened with the word festival. And the media, obviously, again, media, the face of media is changing. Give one example. My father was a famous writer and he was attacked in one newspaper which was run by a big excise industry family of Karnataka. And my father knew the proprietor. He was a business tycoon. He said, "Your editor has abused me," you talk to him. And the proprietor sent for the editor. The editor, who was a poor Brahmin, he said, "Tell that excise contractor I will not come if he orders me. Let him come to me." So print media was to a large extent independent. Now the face of the media has changed. Now all media houses have been bought up by MNCs. And for them, everything is a commodity. Literature is commodity, music is commodity. When you're listening to some Bhimsen Joshi's Kumar Gandharva's music, in between comes Tantex company underwear advertisement. So even though aesthetic enjoyment is punctuated by this, commodity fetishism. So this kind of vulgarization of the culture that has happened is all over. And we should remember, I agree with another thing Arun Kamal just said, we should remember that celebration is necessary, but today, more than celebration, at least to the same extent, cerebration is necessary. We have to rethink our positions. And when festivals happen, they're blindly celebrating it. But, for example, national, you also talked about other festivals. I organized two festivals in Kerala, Kerala Singing Art Academy, National Theatre Festival. And I look at this Bharangam in Delhi, and what's that? So there no thinking happens, just plays, some four plays happening parallelly. You don't get the, so it's just a part of showbiz. So, we should realize that our, genres like poetry and theatre are threatened cultures. And there's no scope for blind celebration. Of course, you have to get happiness out of it, and you have to celebrate life. But now what is celebrated is not life. What is celebrated is the negation of life through commercialization and globalization, which is reflected in most of the festivals. And this disease is spreading, will soon spread to independent festivals like Sahitya Academy festivals, because this time I noticed that though it's not sponsored by MNCs, this was somehow following the model of JLP. So that kind of invasion is happening into the meaningful areas of culture.
Thank you very much. Yes, just Arun Kamalji, last minute.
स्विच नहीं हुआ ना हो गया नहीं
Well, I fully agree with you. Utsav is the right word, festival is the right word, literature celebrates life. So all these events should celebrate literature. But what they are doing is, as Shivaprakash ji has explained it, they are glamorizing money, wealth, and everything that goes with money. This I object to. Second, there are certain phases or points in life when certain things get more important than certain other things. The whole nation and the government is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Nothing could be a big hoax. Nobody has asked the question, what is Amrit Mahotsav? It's never 75 years. In no Sanskrit text it's given. So what is this? Where does this term come from? This is a kind of brainwashing. This is an attempt at manipulating you, your consciousness. At this point of history, literature and all the writers should stand up and say, this is hoax. We need a criticism of life at this point. We don't want this world, we want a better world. And we should strive towards that alternative. So, let us find an alternative and then we will utsav. We all will join in the utsav of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, all the panelists, Satish Kumar ji, Arun Kamal ji, Hemant and Shiva Prakash ji. So we had a very analytical discussion, and finally we also found a way forward, as Arun Kamal ji put it. So once all the writers and creative people stand up and say no to hoax, and I would also like to say that kind of becomes little rhetoric. I'd like to also add that Shiva Prakash ji was talking about taking literature to schools and jails. I think that's a very, very positive outreach. Yes, hospitals, and you have to talk to the younger people. And when the creative people say no to hoax, so that they can understand, they can relate. On this note, we would like to end this discussion. We can go on and on this, I'm sure, but I'm very sorry that we are now running out of time and we have other phases. So we could have done, but we could have actually done this discussion for the whole evening. But thank you very much, all the panelists, and I hope I did not fail in my role as a moderator. I could, I could. Thank you, Yatish ji. Thank you, Arun Kamal ji, and thank you, Hemant and Shiva Prakash ji. Thank you very much for. We have small token of gifts for you, which Probal, our editor, will hand over. That we are actually recording and videographing all these events, and in our next, or maybe next to next issue, we will have transcribed all this and we will put it in.